What's up, YouTube? Today we are talking about how to fix the Houndmaster and, more importantly, why this can be avoided in the future. Um, First of all, I want to flex new tattoo. It's kind of hard to see, but it is Malekith, Malekith's sword, and then the amulet that he has on his hand. I love it. It's gonna take a while to heal, obviously. So I just gotta be careful with that. And today, I wanted to talk about how to fix the Houndmaster, both in balance and just quality of life ways. Starting off, we have just an idea to widen the hitbox radius by half of the dog. Basically, just make it a little bit more forgiving when you hit, or like to get a hit. Second off, I was thinking if a survivor is under the Hound Sense effect, grab by the dog, and then M1, give it like some kind of liquor tongue, like base kit liquor tongue from Nemesis, essentially giving them like a shorter speed burst. It's very difficult to get somebody Hound Sensed and then get a dog grab on them, because really, without add-ons, you only have 45 seconds with Hound Sense up, which I'll get into that, but that add-on should be base kit. It should be 60 seconds for Hound Sense. Next, I'd say change add-ons. Most of the add-ons in her kit are just completely useless. I went over and like kind of we're trying to see if we can make a build out of these. Most of them are just like 5%, 2%. Like there's an add-on that increases the chase speed of the dog, which is already 32 meters a second, by 2%. 2%. It's not even a whole meter of distance. It's not even a whole meters per second of distance. 2% on 32 meters per second, which they already buffed, by the way. They already buffed that. So first off, I was thinking either make it base kit or make it an iridescent add-on. Give like 5 seconds of blood favor after getting a dog hit. The last 3 seconds, yeah, they can throw the pallet. If you can't get a hit in 5 seconds, you don't really, I don't want to say you don't deserve it, but like, you know, you should probably get that hit in 5 seconds. The other add-on, the other iridescent add-on that I was thinking of, make it so that you get like a tiny hubris. Anybody that stuns the dog is exposed for like 10-15 seconds. Because ultimately it's I don't think if you aren't going to change the dog's drag AI, then you need to make it like much more punishing to stun the dog, because it is so easy. It is so easy. And then the last balance change that I have is the search path haste lingers for 1 second, and change add-ons so that you can increase that linger. Says Jupiter. Ultimately, I do think balance-wise, she is good. But the bugs and quality of life issues really hold her back. Now we'll get into the quality of life things. So if you don't know, anytime that you pull up search or chase and you do not send out the dog, you get this massive hinder that I believe is like 2.2 or 2.4 meters per second. Why? You're not even using your power. Why are you getting punished for not using your power? Is this why? This is what I find myself asking behavior a lot. Why did you do that? Who told you to do that? Who said that was a good idea? I don't know. Actually make the fucking pet action work. You have marketed this update to the game as you can pet the dog. I keep hammering on this point ever since she came out. You can't fucking pet the dog. You can't. You literally, I have not, in my 5 hours of playing her, I have not pet the dog yet. 5 hours. It doesn't let me. It doesn't even come up. Why? Why is it so difficult? The dog AI wants to look away from you. you have to back it into a corner and then like shimmy around for a minute just for the prompt to come up. And then half the time when on the PTP, half the time the prompt didn't even like full or like didn't even reach full before the dog would just like run away or like turn around. Also, increase the end of search hound sense radius to 8 meters. Right now it's 5. I don't think that, like, if it finishes a search path, 5 meters, especially because most of the time it takes suboptimal pathing that is just out in the open. Survivors can see that. They're going to run away. You don't even get hound sense half the time on a survivor paying attention. 8 meters, I think, is going to alleviate that a little bit. This is probably the one that's going to take the longest, but update the drag AI. I don't know how you guys just didn't copy and paste Deathslinger's like dragging code. You guys love to recycle content and just like throw a different skin on it. So like you have the easiest job in the world with this and you still manage to fuck it up. I've always been kind of lenient towards the devs, but this is just sloppy. This is sloppy. You have a drag component to a power and you don't even reuse the one that is like, this is dragging the survivors in with your harpoon gun. So right now, the main issue that I see a lot of people complaining about is that the drag path, if it's really weird. So when you send out the dog, the second that you send out a dog, it leaves behind like a little banner, I guess. If you want to think about night in a sense, where it starts a chase and you have to come back to that banner. That is essentially what the dog is doing. Instead of a live pathing to you, it is trying to come back to the point where you sent out the dog, which realistically makes sense. I don't know why they like never said this in any of the marketing, in any of like tips and tricks on how to play the new killer. No, it will drag back to the point where you sent it out. So essentially, if you don't hit the dog, you lose a shit ton of distance. To play this killer optimally, you either send out the dog and it misses, and then you have like a 5-second cooldown after the dog comes back, which is a problem, which I'm sure they'll send out a patch in a week or so fixing that, because that is a main issue, but I don't think that's really difficult to fix. You can just add like a recall feature. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that difficult to fix, which is why I'm not really going to mention it. If anything, just going to skip over that. But like, essentially what this boils down to is that you send out your dog, let's say at shack, right? So you're standing in the pallet, you send the dog through the window, and it like is at the corner of shack between the window and the door. Now, right there is the perfect play, right? That is the perfect play on how to play Houndmaster. If you miss that dog, they can just run away from shack. Your character is immobile the whole time, which is not good, right? That is not good. You do not want to be immobile. You are losing distance on the survivors, which in turn will make people play more cowardly with her power, which I think they like kind of thought about, because essentially they made a zoning tool where you get punished for trying to zone survivors, and essentially you just zone yourself. It's a lot of just like, why did you do this? The developers of Dead by Daylight, why did you do a majority of things with this killer? I have to say, I love her visuals. I love the gameplay loop. I think it's very engaging, interactive. I feel like this optimal pathing of like sliding off of things is really cool. I think it can be used really well. Ultimately, I like everything about her except playing her right now, which is kind of impressive, you know? With Wesker, there's just new bugs that I'm finding every single day. It's kind of impressive. They barely ever change this killer, and yet there's still like 20 bugs that I could probably get in a single game, like all of them, all 20 bugs that I could get in a single game. It doesn't matter how many tickets I send in, how much proof I give them, how to replicate the bugs. They don't fix that. So I'm leaning away from Wesker. I like this killer. Let me get back on topic. I'm sorry. But yeah, ultimately, a live drag pathing is going to be really good in moving this killer forward. I'm not sure why they did the stationary dog drag AI. I don't really get that. Essentially, you either hit the dog and win the chase, or you lose, you miss and you lose big, which is never good because people are going to play cowardly, and this killer already sucks enough as is right now. So you really need to change something there. Automatically recalling the dog if the power meter is charged but the dog's not in range to be used after 3 seconds. I've seen other people complaining about this, and I've seen it myself, where your cooldown will be off after chase, but the dog will just be in Narnia, stuck on something. Why did they not think of this? This was an issue on the PTB. I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they know this is bad, but still, like, the dog gets stuck on literally nothing half the time. The search path will sometimes just bug it out. Any elevation will like completely destroy your power. Yeah, I just, I don't know what you guys were thinking. I really don't. After a certain distance, you run out of search path haste before reaching the destination. I saw this once on my game in the hour-plus video of Houndmaster gameplay on the Yamaoka estate, where I send out a search path from one edge of the map to the other towards a gen, and I actually ran out of haste because the dog was sitting there. Like, I don't understand. You can't get the haste in chase. It's not like you can just use that towards your advantage, you know. There's no point in like making it so stingy on when you can get the search path haste. The biggest one in quality of life that I have come up with is adding a switch feature while commanding a search path. If you are in the search function and you press M2, you have an option to press M1 to send out the search path. Just use control, you know, use the primary power button, or the secondary, I believe. Just use the secondary power function in order to switch between targets. Like, if you have a generator sitting in front of a totem that you want to defend, you're never fucking getting that totem. You have to go so far out of your way. Like, or if there's an exit gate in front of, or an exit gate behind a generator, you're never making that exit gate, because for some reason the selecting objectives is so fucking like sticky until you don't want to select a objective. It's very odd. This was like the main issue from the PTB with the search, and they still haven't fixed it. They said they did something. I don't believe it. Next, add a HUD element to distinguish search and chase modes similar to clowns. You know how you can see purple and yellow bottles? Add something. Just like red and green. I don't know. She's supposed to come out like Christmas time. Red and green. Who fucking cares? Just make it clear, besides a little HUD element in the bottom left and some words on the bottom of your screen. And the last thing, I'm a Wesker main, P100. You can just hold M2 and wait for its power to come back, and it instantly goes into power. This is an issue with Houndmaster that I noticed. If you hold M2, it doesn't automatically bring up chase or search power. Partly because I think the dog, like, they did that on purpose because the dog wouldn't be in range, which, if they did that on purpose, why not just fix the fucking dog? Why not just, like, they make changes that just do not make sense. I'm sorry. They make changes that are just like, why didn't you're doing a band-aid fix for something that you could fix in probably 30 minutes. It just adds to the clunkiness of the killer. I think you are really with mine, there's a couple of balance changes that I think could make the killer, could lower the skill floor of the killer, which is fairly fucking high right now. I would say she's in like the top 6 or 7 hardest killers to play. But ultimately, like, there's so many quality of life things, and I'm getting to the last part of this video. There's so many quality of life things with this killer that need to be changed. And like, if you don't know, she was leaked back in September. This killer that came out on Thanksgiving, end of November, was leaked in September. You have finished artwork, licensed artwork in September, and yet there is this much wrong end of November. What are we doing? Do we not have another killer power? Do we not have like another killer ready to be finished that could ship out before this? Because right now, so many people are going to get turned away by how bad she is right now and never touch her again. Never, like ever, until she gets a major update like with Singularity. People are suddenly playing Singularity so much because he's a top 5 killer in the game right now. And I like, all they did was just give you basically just aim assist. Maybe that's a console thing, I don't know, or controller rather. It's kind of concerning this is how finished a killer is when it was leaked months in advance. I really, these next few months before we even get into the marketing strategy of Five Nights at Freddy's will be rough. No pun intended, no dog joke intended. This will be a rough few months of Dead by Daylight. Unless there are major changes in the next 2 weeks, people will forget about this killer, and it will be one of the worst chapter releases since the Twins, if not worse than the Twins. Ultimately, you have one perk from the Survivor and Killer that is genuinely meta busting, and then the rest of them are so niche and useless. It's just clutter on your perk scroll, wheel. I really, if you guys need help designing perks, I have tens of perk ideas that make sense, that would be somewhat decent. And yet we're getting what? You can automatically heal yourself after 60 seconds instead of just being healed. Why is it 60 seconds? 60. I understand what they're going for. Why is it 60 seconds to heal yourself? A syringe, at most, maybe takes 30 seconds, depending on what the killer is bringing. That's killer dependent. This is just a flat 60 seconds. And you need somebody else to start healing you. Man, this chapter is, I don't want to say a mess because there is other killer balances that came with it. The Myers change I really do like. I feel like the sub 16 meter stalk speed could be increased from 0.4 to 0.6. I'll throw on screen. I stalked 3 people within 8-10 meters of me, and it took about 5 seconds. It feels like it took longer to get a full tier 3 than it did before this update, just stalking one person. This is really bad. I will say, this is, I don't know. Everything else about the Myers change, I love. I feel like there should be some kind of way to switch between tier 1 and tier 2. But that's just me. It's a very outdated power. I don't know why we keep putting this much time and energy into killer powers that just need a complete overhaul instead of just, we'll do some number changes. We'll make broken OP add-ons a little bit harder to get, but
not really. Um, they still didn't remove Tombstone Piece. It is still a complete problem. Um, you can still just camp somebody off of Hook. It's basically just Bubba, but better. Um, yeah, that's it. When this video goes live, I will probably be streaming on Twitch. You can check it out in the description. You can also go follow my TikTok and my Blue Sky if you're using that app for some reason. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like this video if you want to see more, and have a great rest of your day.